All right. Well, good afternoon, evening to you. I'm
Hello.
Rashi. I'm Rashi Vats, and we are going to be talking to Dr. Suzanne Bargers in just a second. But first, I wanted to say hello, and I hope all you parents are not too stressed out. I know it's a pretty stressful time because you're trying to get everything done, and there's school parties. I actually went to one this morning. My daughter had her, what do they call it, a holiday program, and she's 2, and she just kind of stood there like all the other kids did. And it was crazy because, the parents are there and obviously they just want to go back to their parents. And so these teachers are like dealing with these crying children, and you're trying to like get your child, and it's a whole situation. But one great thing that first of all, I love the holidays. And if you follow me, I am a huge Christmas fan, not just because of what Christmas is all about, but also just the vibe, the passion, the compassion, the kindness, and that people show, and they should show year round. And I try to do that year round too. I do admit I kind of get this extra boost during the holiday to do more good, just because it's kind of, you're around people that are doing the same thing as well. But it's different when you look at it in a parent's perspective, because you want your child to be kind and compassionate. All those things carry on throughout the year. So, one thing that I've done that I actually saw another mom do on social media is use this time to clean out toys, like some of the old toys that you may have, and donate them. Because a lot of these toys, you can clean them up and they're basically like new, and your child has outgrown them. The attention span for your child is probably like, I don't even know, 2 seconds. I mean, they'll play for it for maybe a day and then they'll be like, okay, on to the next thing. So it's a great opportunity to talk to your children. I have felt, especially with my 5-year-old, to explain, there are other children who don't have toys. And, it's always great to share and give. And so that has been something that we've done, and that I feel like we'll continue to do throughout the year. The other thing is getting toys. Whenever, say, we go to the store and we buy a toy, then I'll say, let's buy a toy for another child too, so that we can donate. So it's not all about this is what I want, but it's like, I want another child to also feel good as well. But, I've only been doing this parenting thing for a hot minute. I have someone, Dr. Bargers, who I'm introducing to you now. Here she is. Hello. Good evening to you.
Hello. So good to be with you today. Thank you.
And I want to tell you, so you've been, you are a parent well, they're not boys, they're men now, and 5 grandchildren, and you homeschooled 2 of them during the pandemic. So you are all levels of parenting here. So you've parented, before, and now you're kind of doing it in a whole new way. What big difference did you see in the way that you raised your children, and then the, brief stint of you doing the homeschooling, and the generations and the difference there?
Well, I think the biggest difference for me was that I had to catch up my grandchildren to my expectations from the time they started with me. I would have them come Monday morning and they'd stay overnight with me. So we did laundry and meals and a little bit of chores all together until they left Thursday afternoon. And that gave me a 3-day weekend to collapse and regroup. But with my own children, you do things gradually. I started out with them when they were really little, giving them an allowance, but saying as you age comes responsibilities. So you're another year older. So you have 2 choices or 3 choices of a chore you're going to do now. It might be walking the dog or emptying the trash, or in the case of the children when they got older, practicing piano an extra 5 minutes a day. So I had to establish those routines for my grandchildren. No, you don't throw your towels on the floor and leave them there. You pick them up and hang them up again. And in a family of 5, where they came from, it was a little chaotic and busy all the time. And so I was used to a little bit more structure. And then, of course, I was their teacher as well. And it was a great gift to me. And one of the things that we did that relates to this time period is that I had them work on preparing holiday gifts for everybody in the family, not just a Secret Santa where you're off the hook with just thinking of one person, but we made things for everybody. And they weren't just crafty things, they were useful things like felted soap. And the 10-year-old learned how to hem napkins, and she made little Christmas napkins for everybody, which turned into a hobby for her. She liked sewing after that. So we spent a lot of time thinking about what we could do for others.
That's a huge thing. And I think that's so amazing. And you coming into it as a grandmother, let me tell you, my mom is so different with my kids than she was with me and my sister. So she's a lot more lenient, but she's also strict in, certain areas. But with us, she was just kind of always strict. But, I digress. So when you see other children, what's kind of something that, first of all, you're with Lingo Kid, you work with Lingo Kids. So tell us about that.
Well, Lingo Kids is a learning app. They're based in Spain. I started advising them at the very beginning when they only had a few users and a few employees, and now they have millions of users around the world. And I have to say, working with my kids again, my grandkids really gave me an infusion with what works with kids and what doesn't. And of course, they would love to spend lots of time on screen, but I think it's really important that that screen time be managed and be used to the benefit of everybody in the family, and that the parents know what the kids are doing and choose that time to have screen time judiciously. Let's face it, we all need that 30 minutes to get dinner on the table, or an hour. It's pretty frantic. And I'm also a big advocate of having the kids cooking along with you and participating in that. You can talk about fractions, you can talk about how to measure, about volume, heat, reactions when you bake with leavening and things like that. It maybe takes you longer, but it pays off over time as they gain independence.
And I'm so glad that you made note of that. Like it requires patience and it requires more time. Because I tried that with my 2 and 5-year-old baking cookies. And I mean, in theory, we got like 3 great pictures, but the flour was everywhere and, they got bored after a while, but, they did take part in this, and they next time will hopefully do a little bit more. And, and it's also with, especially if you have siblings, learning to work together with them.
That's right. And kids naturally want to be like grown-ups. Mm-hmm. So if they see you doing things and participating when they're real little, they want to imitate you. And if you don't take advantage of it when they're 2 or 3, even though it's messier and more time consuming, they grow into skilled young people who do know how to take on responsibility.
Yeah, no, and that's great. But I would say in the wake of just people being so busy, my grandmother and even my mom, they say, well, both my grandmothers, they say, like, you guys are just so busy all the time. Like there's so much going on, which there is, because there's so much demand. And I do find it hard to sort of make that time to be able to do things like this. Obviously there's times to, like, I went to my daughter's party thing this morning and, mm-hmm. Doing things like dinner and stuff. But how do you kind of carve out that time in order to do these things? And do you agree that things were a lot different before?
I think they were easier 30, 40, 50 years ago. We were able to focus. Women were expected to stay home more. I was a teacher before I started writing and getting into publishing, and I had my summers off, and I didn't go back to work until the kids were school age. So that was a real luxury. And I was able to really appreciate that, even though I was bored part of the time, I'll admit to that, and yearning to go back to work. But I think now it's a matter of sitting down with a family, and even with a 2-year-old, having a conversation and saying, okay, how are we best going to use our time? We have Saturday and Sunday coming up. Here are the things that we have to do on our days off, whatever they may be. And let's figure out how we're going to allocate our time. It's the holidays, so we have a lot of preparation to do. How can we all help each other? And make a list. Make a list of how you're going to maybe give 2 hours on one day to volunteer, or even if it's just 20 minutes to go next door and shovel the neighbor's walk. Somebody who might not be able to get out easily. Or I think your idea is great. When we're going to the grocery store, let's look for something we can get to give for somebody for a little gift. And especially if there are buy two, get one free, let's get the free one and give that to the food pantry. They're so desperate for food right now. So this role model of you as adults saying, I want to give you some time. This is a gift. And I want you to help me brainstorm how we can make that happen more easily. You know, even things like carpool can be fun. And you can put on the radio or a favorite podcast, play it through your car, Apple Play, if you have that facility to do that, and talk about what you're listening to so that it doesn't just become wasted time or idle time. Mm-hmm. Even standing in line at the grocery store. I remember one time a little kid was in front of me with her parent and was picking up a book off a rack, and the mother said, "Put that back." And I thought, oh no, let her read that book, buy it for her. Yeah. And it was such a lost moment, but I just kept quiet and thought, oh, too bad. That's why those books are there, for the little kids to pick up and maybe talk their parents into buying them.
Yeah, those things always get you. Well, I wanted to go over this because there's a list of things that you can do. Can you go over them, the things that you can do in order to try and get your kids to be compassionate and kind throughout the year?
Sure. I think, again, one of the main things is doing the role model. And I can't see what's at the top of your list there, but I can see notes of appreciation. I've got notes waiting for my grandkids that are sitting on my windowsill because one of us got sick over Thanksgiving. So we had to delay our celebration a few days. And I decided that instead of saying what I'm grateful for, I would write each one a little personal note and have that ready for them. And then repeat the same activity at Christmas time. If you're gathering together with a large group, maybe have craft materials and things ready so that everybody can participate. They don't have to be able to write. They can make something special for a family member and have something that's a little bit of a keepsake for them. And that modeling is just so important. You mentioned the clearing out the outgrown toys and getting those ready. And my sons would go, okay, here are the two things I'm going to donate. And I'd say, gee, Santa Claus got it easy this year.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have to give you much, which motivated them. I'm very manipulative, but right. We have to be that some way sometimes as parents. With my grandchildren, years ago, I asked them if they'd like to have a gift or if they'd like to have an experience. And so instead of having a gift from me, we go to the theater together. And even with the very youngest, we've been doing that. And I pick a family-friendly theater or musicale, and we go and have a great time together. And one has even asked for that for his birthday. And he's now 19, and he still wants to do that.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Yeah, he'll soon be 20, and we'll be planning where we go for his 20th birthday theater adventure. On the list, you see the coupon books. That's something that you can plan together for free hugs, a free cleanup, a free running the little vacuum. One of my grandkids was one of these children who was very service-oriented during our homeschool year. She didn't want hugs, but boy, she was the first one to jump up and help me. And so you build on that, on what these children will like to do and how gratified they feel when they have helped.
Definitely. And the other thing that was on the list is the small care packages. I think those are so important too. And it's so neat. You could really just put anything in them.
That's right. And you can keep them in your car so that they're handy if you see someone in need or a homeless person. I have to tell you what happened to me this week. I have a teddy bear in a rocking chair out front, a little Christmas decoration and display. And it was a cold night and I put a blanket on him and it was gone by the morning. And I thought, I think I'm going to put another blanket out with a little note that's saying, if you need this blanket, I hope it helps keep you warm. So I was not upset that it was taken because I knew it was a risk. I live in an urban area. Nobody's taken my teddy bear or my other decorations, but I feel good that someone needed that blanket and helped themselves to it. And I think also just keeping things by your door. So if your FedEx guy shows up or your Amazon Prime and you have a little treat for them and it's all ready, then that brightens somebody's day because they're so busy and working so hard to help us have a good holiday season.
That's such a good point. And it's just so great, this kindness that, that kind of like from you just motivate others. I mean, you motivate me to do these things. And it's just so nice to hear that. What do you think people is the biggest issue when it comes to people doing these things, like actually getting to the point where they will do it? Because what you're saying is very easy to do and it's not expensive. I mean, a blanket or a bottle of water or something, but it's the action of doing it. What do you think is impedes someone from doing something like that?
Well, I think it's right back to what you were talking about before, where we're all just so busy and so stretched. So I think the key thing is sitting down as a family, as I mentioned before. And maybe you've established the practice of family game night. So instead of family game night one night a week or once a month, think about, okay, we're going to make this a family giving night, or I call it a caring and sharing caper. What can you do to surprise somebody? And we've all seen these videos where someone picks up someone's grocery bill or says, oh, you dropped your wallet, and it's not theirs, but they have passing them a $20 bill. It doesn't have to be that big, but just think about if you could spare $20, you could buy 4 or 5 cups of coffee for that, and you could arrange with the barista or whatever they call the coffee maker. I think that's right.
Barista.
Yeah, and sit back and watch. Be anonymous and tell them, choose 5 people to pay for their cups of coffee, and here's the money to do it. And let the kids watch that and that surprise and delight when someone gets a surprise.
Yeah.
And you could make it just very small things and maybe plan for the next year. What could we do that would be even bigger? And incorporate that into your giving pattern with your family. But you need to get everybody on board.
Yes, that's the big thing.
And it does take resources.
Yes. And it takes time, but like you said, it's worth it at the end. It's, anything easy. I mean, anything hard, anything worthwhile. You got to go through the tougher road is how it's kind of described as. I did want to just mention that, I'm fortunate I didn't need a cup of coffee, but I was in line at Starbucks and the person paid for me. And I was just so shocked. Like in awe, oh my goodness, this is awesome. Like made my week. This is so great. Like, and it's what, less than $5. But so I just can't even imagine at that point. I was like, for someone that needs something and gets a surprise, just imagine how they feel. So it's so impactful. These small little things that you're doing also, Dr. Barchers, and being able to kind of spread all of that to make sure that kids do this year round and grow up to be adults that continue the legacy of doing it.
That's right. We want to establish those patterns. And, there are things just like courtesies, I think, that we've lost in our busy lives. I used to teach my boys, you always open the door. It always goes by gender and age, older women first and older men next, and so on and so forth. And you're last. And there are reasons for that in our society, the respect and the courtesy that we show. And when it becomes habitual, it's a kindness that's appreciated. And then for the person that has received that kindness, when they turn and say, thank you so much, it's just such a nice moment for the day. Yes. I recently got my hair cut and I said to my stylist, I says, the other day I was just blowing out my hair and I needed to do a TV interview. And I thought, I just love Christina because she makes my life easier.
Yeah.
And she said, you just made my day. She said, that was so nice to say. And I was very deliberate about it. I thought about it. I thought, I'm going to tell her that I felt that way.
Yeah.
And she will see this gratitude in me. And I think these deliberate acts of compassion and gratitude, when they're intended to be delivered thoughtfully, carry a lot of weight and go a long way.
Definitely. Well, Dr. Barchers, thank you so much. It's been 20 minutes already. And it was just so great talking to you, getting your insight. I hope you have a great holiday. And I think this is very impactful. And I hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you. You too. And to all your listeners, have a wonderful, safe, healthy holiday.
All right. And all of you out there, thank you so much for watching. I have this wonderful basket. It was very kind for someone to give it to me. And I'll be giving other people baskets as well, just spreading kindness, doing it little bits at a time and involving your children. That's really the takeaway, because we could all use a little kindness and we could all give it as well. So until next time.